Welcome back to TechniqueWOD. Today we're talking about using intentional quarter squats to have stronger legs and stronger glutes. Intentional means we're doing it on purpose, which I'll explain in a second. Of course, within the kind of CrossFit functional fitness community, doing quarter squats is frowned upon. That's what they teach you not to do. That doesn't mean you should never do them. That means that the vast majority of the time with all exercises, you should be using a full range of motion. You'll get more well-rounded strength and muscular development if you are using a full range of motion the vast majority of the time. But that doesn't mean that there's no place for quarter squats. In fact, the very first time that I ever implemented quarter squats into my training, which was probably like 2005, 2006. I had plateaued on many things with all the big lifts, front squats, back squats, deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, snatches, cleans. Like I was not getting any stronger. It was in between one football season and the next. It was off-season training, and I wanted to get stronger, and so I incorporated quarter squats and heavy low bar back squats. I made two big changes, and then for the next 12 weeks, I PR'd systematically every 4 weeks for about a quarter before the next football season started. I think that quarter squats were a very big part of that. Okay? For me, having done a lot of Olympic weightlifting growing up, very fortunately, I was pretty quad dominant, always squatting with a vertical torso, having done no powerlifting. I did do deadlifts and whatnot, but I wasn't very good at using my glutes specifically when I was squatting. I was, again, using all quads, trying to stay very upright, and I was not getting a very strong glute contraction right above my sticking point here because I was always, squatting very, very vertical, which puts a lot of stress on my quads, not as much stress on your glutes. Of course, my glutes were doing some work, but they were the weak link in the chain. So I started doing quarter squats, which kind of looks like a hinge. If you look at me from the side here, maybe even a little bit from the front, James. So if I'm here, it almost looks like a little bit of a hinge. I'll be here, I'll just go down to about right there. I feel a lot of tension on my glutes, and I'll come back up. A lot of tension on my glutes, and come back up. So again, context, you should be doing a lot of full range of motion, front squats, back squats, and all the other squatting movements that you do. But if you find yourself at a plateau and you want to try something new, doing heavy quarter squats I think can be very beneficial. Say you squat 400 pounds. Well, you can put 400 pounds on a quarter squat and do 4 sets of 12 with it. And so you're getting used to having that heavy weight on your back for multiple reps. Your legs don't get a full range of motion. I'm not getting a full range of motion at my knee or my hip, but my torso, my spine, my back, all the supporting musculature of my torso and all the soft tissue structures holding everything from hips up together is getting a lot of loading, a lot of time under tension. And so if that's one thing that is limiting you, your torso strength and that kind of the stability that you need to be able to move a heavy weight, that doing quarter squats can be very, very helpful. With that, psychologically, if you have 400 pounds on your back and your max is 400 and you have 400 pounds on your back all the time, then when you go to hit a new max, 405, 410 or whatever it is, you're used to having that much weight on your back because you do it all the time. So that can be very, very helpful. That said, a lot of people, they don't feel comfortable putting on 100% of their max and doing a lot of repetitions. So there's safer ways to do it than just doing it freestanding in a squat rack. Of course, you can use jerk blocks and just set them to a height that's right around a quarter squat for you. That way you can start bottom up. I can be here, just go down, tap and go back up, tap and go back up. Or if you don't have jerk blocks or you don't want to set that up, I actually think the yoke is one of the more convenient ways to get this done. Where again, you just set the bar as low as you want, you load the plates at the bottom, and you just set up and so the yoke, again, I think is one of the easier setups, and you can go all the way to failure, and you really don't have a whole lot of risk. If you can't get the rep, you fail the rep, you just set the yoke on the ground and you walk away, and it's really, really convenient, very, very safe. Okay? The rationale for doing heavy yoke walks actually is very similar to the rationale for doing these quarter squats, where I was saying just getting used to having that heavy loading, like the strongman competitors would have doing heavy yoke walks, is very beneficial. Just getting used to that heavy load on your back. That way when you go to do your max feels normal instead of the heaviest thing you've ever done ever. Technique-wise, of course, you do it just like any other squat you would ever do. You're pushing through the middle of your foot, maybe heel heavy, midfoot, and then you're pushing your knees out, knee over toe. You have a nice tall neutral spine, etc. It's pretty easy to have good technique since the range of motion is so short, but of course you just want to make sure that you do have good technique because you're going to have a very heavy weight on your back, much heavier than you would if you're just doing a regular set of squats because you're only doing a part of the range of motion. I said that you could use your max and do 4 sets of 8 or 4 sets of 12 or whatever you can do with your max, but you certainly can also go heavier than your max. So if you squat 400 right now and you're trying to squat 465 by the end of the year, then maybe you do 465 and you're just doing heavy singles, doubles, triples, or whatever you can handle for 465 pounds on your back. Also, you can vary the amount of range of motion that you have. You don't have to just pick a quarter squat and that's one specific level. You can see there's many different levels you could choose on the yoke behind me. You could do 465 at the highest level, and then the next week for the same sets and reps, move it down a level. Next week for the same sets and reps, move it down a little. So you're keeping a heavy weight and you're gradually increasing the range of motion week over week over week. That way you're not increasing the volume, but you're increasing the range of motion, so there's some progressive overload involved there. Weightlifters do this very commonly where they'll just do rack lockouts where it'll typically be higher than this, where the bar is starting like right here instead of way down here, and they'll just stand up and just hold it and then drop it down as long as they can. So they're basically just doing supports with the bar just so they can feel what it's like. If their max clean is 300 pounds, they can feel what it's like to just sit there and hold a clean with 350 or 400, and they'll hold it for 5 or 10 seconds and they'll put it down. And doing those support holds, again, just if nothing else, psychologically just makes it where when you put on your max, it doesn't feel that heavy anymore. And that when it doesn't feel as heavy, you probably are going to be going into that lift trying to do a jerk in the case that I just mentioned or whatever with a lot more confidence, because it's not overwhelming where you're like, oh my God, this is the heaviest thing I've ever felt in my whole life. I wonder what's going to happen. Okay? You go into it with a lot of confidence, you're much more likely to hit the lift and get the jerk in this case. What I used to do back when I was competing in weightlifting is I would do my heavy snatches and clean and jerks, my full range of motion front squats or back squats, and then I would do quarter squats and or whatever my pulls were going to be for that day, snatch pulls, clean pulls, snatch deadlifts, clean deadlifts, and or these heavy quarter squats or low bar back squats. They were kind of after my full Olympic movements, my full squats, and then depending on what was programmed for that day, these would be kind of like the mid-range before I did all my assistance work at the end of the workout. One additional thing that I like to use quarter squats for is for people that want to do any type of forceful jumping. If you're trying to increase your max vertical jump for whatever reason, if you look at what a quarter squat is, it's very similar to the position you're going to get into when you go to jump. So again, of course, full range of motion squats will help with vertical jump height. If you're trying to jump higher, just doing a lot of leg exercises will help with that. But quarter squats are a pretty specific thing. They're almost more of a hinge pattern, really. This is similar to if I was doing like a rack pull. I'd be in this position here, okay? Except now I'm in a jump position, or I'm in that squat position, that quarter squat position. They're very similar positions. So if you're getting used to doing quarter squats, where you're here and you're stopping here, you're decelerating at this point in the range of motion and then turning around and accelerating back up. You're training a very similar pattern that you would be training if you're doing max height vertical jumps. So from a sport specific point of view, can be very helpful for increasing your vertical jump. So again, with context, you should be doing full range of motion, front squats and back squats the vast majority of the time. If you've reached a strength plateau and you're looking for something new, I think doing heavy quarter squats is a great thing to try. As they say, the best exercise is the one that you're not currently doing, meaning that variety is very, very important for stimulating some more muscular growth and for stimulating strength gains. So try those out. I think you'll really enjoy it. And it's just a lot of fun to slap on like 500 pounds and do a set of 12, even if the range of motion is really, really short. Usually it's a good time. So try that out. You can follow me. I'm Doug Larson. You can follow me on Instagram, Douglas E. Larson. Of course, everything Shrugged Collective, Barbell Shrugged on Wednesday, sometimes on Saturdays, TechniqueWOD on Sundays. We also have the program Vault. Go to shruggedcollective.com/vault. We have 12 programs that are in the program Vault. I just put Shredded in there not too long ago, so now we have a fat loss program in there that's really, really popular. So check that out. See you another day.
Shrugged listeners, welcome to the Shrugged Collective Program Vault. Over the last 6 years, we've been leading the charge in online strength and conditioning programming and coaching. And for the first time in the history of the Shrugged Collective, we're combining our 11 best-selling long-term and short-term accessory programs into one membership site called the Program Vault. From Olympic weightlifting to strongman, leaning out, nutrition, you name it, our 11 best-selling programs are yours for $47 a month. Get to shruggedcollective.com/vault, and you will find immediate access to our 11 best-selling strength and conditioning programs.